Do you struggle with anxiety? Sometimes I do. And this is a great way to help with the anxiety. This is a great way to stop the internal dialogue, the committee, I call it. You know, it's almost impossible to keep anxiety going without your internal dialogue. It really is. It's the one consistent thing across the board, no matter what kind of anxiety, whether it's generalized anxiety or specific, whether it's worry. But what is worry? It's just us saying negative stuff inside our head and imagining this thing happening, right? And it's in our voice, so we tend to believe it. So take a minute, sit back. I want you to pick a spot out in front of you. Doesn't matter what you're looking at. Take a deep breath. Just pick a spot. Take a moment. Stare at that spot. Could be a doorknob, a book on a shelf, a spot on the wall. It doesn't matter. Now, keeping your eyes focused on that focal point, whichever you're using, I want you to begin to expand your peripheral vision, keeping your eyes on that spot. Begin to become aware of all the space around it. The edges of your vision begin to expand peripherally so that you spread out your peripheral vision as if you could reach to the sides of the room, the walls on either side. Imagine being aware of all the space above you to the ceiling and below you to the floor. Expand your peripheral vision, expanding it even more as you can push all the way out to the sides of the room, almost as if you could be aware of this space behind you. And then bring it back into focus. Good. This may take a little bit of practice to get good at this one, but what did you notice? Do you feel a little kind of a trance? It's a little trancy, but it's an outside trance. So when I do it, it feels like this is stopping the world for a minute. And it's really one of those rare moments that you may get a break from that committee, that incessant internal chatter. If you've never had the discipline to really do a meditative practice, this is a great anxiety hack. This is the kind of easy peasy, that empty mind state. It may get you into a really nice whole body meditative state really rapidly. So just, by expanding out, focusing, it stops the internal dialogue from where your focus is to something external. Trust your body to breathe and notice when you expand out. Do you notice if you breathe differently? Because the system is starting to shift. What it also does is it starts to slip you into your parasympathetic nervous system again. It stimulates these parts of the eyes, so you start to slip into that state. Remember, that's the opposite state you're in when you're feeling anxious. If you think of these two opposing states that our body can go into, and we're always trying to find a nice balance. But when you slip into fight, flight, freeze, then you're switched into the sympathetic nervous system and it's all systems go. So I can teach you techniques that help you really shift out of that. It's going to shift the system. It's going to change the hormones and change the cortisol chemicals that start coursing through your system when you're anxious. It's going to change your pulse rate, your breathing, everything, right? So many people are so easily triggered lately. In my practice, everything I do needs to offer a quick result, and a technique has to be easily accessed. If you have to go into a dark, quiet room for 30 minutes and meditate, you're not always going to have time or resources when you're triggered. Sometimes you're in the middle of work. You can't just walk away. It's just not practical, certainly not for anxiety. We just won't think to do that when we're triggered, and probably should on some level, but that's not the time when we think to do it. So this is a quick pattern interrupt to help regulate your state, give you enough of a pause to change your emotional state. They say that we have about 90 seconds of a biochemical wash when we feel any kind of emotion, whether it's a good one or a bad one, right? Not sure how they measured it, but the statistic is 90 seconds. So basically, you get a certain wash, burst of stress chemicals and cortisol hormones associated with that emotion of anger and rage, all that within 90 seconds. It just kind of washes through us. And you can feel it, right? It's, right? And then it dissipates in the system. So we always have an opportunity to change because we know it's only 90 seconds. We just don't do it because we're so good at every chance we get at adding to it. That's what our internal dialogue is for. We're good at, why did I say that? Why didn't I do this? Damn it, that, you know what? We're so good at continuing it, regardless of the negative emotion and the shitty way we feel. But we get addicted to the adrenaline caused by that anxiety. We can get addicted to a life we don't even like. So what this technique does is it gives you the change, the shift. because you're either focusing on your breathing, or you're focusing on this thing that upsets you, or you're expanding out. And you'll have about 90 seconds, and it gives you a little distance from it. So then it can become a choice. My goal is to get you to notice what you're thinking about, to pay attention to your thoughts. Curiosity is one of the biggest resource states we can go into. And when we shine that light of curiosity on ourselves, right there, I'm doing this thing again. What am I doing inside of there that's creating this negative state? That's how I really fixed most of the major issues in my life, is getting really curious about what the hell I'm doing inside my head and noticing my thoughts that keep this pattern going. How to target my thoughts and really pay attention to them. And I don't want you to think you need a target, because the world gives us enough targets all day long. In other words, really focus on shifting this vision out and just see how it helps. If you want more help, one-on-one help, I'm here for that too. Feel free to get a hold of me. Thanks.